Welcome to the latest episode of 305 Vox Populi. I'm Mayor Manny Cid, and this is the People Shop, and I'm here with my co-host, Lazaro Gamon. How you doing, Laz?
How you doing, Manny?
So we got a great guest today to kick this off. We have the Mayor of Hialeah, Steve Bovo. Mayor Bovo, how you doing?
Welcome to my city, man. Welcome to the city of Hialeah, and always good to see Lazarito, great success story in our city.
It's really great to be here in the City of Progress. There's a lot of great things happening. I think Mayor Bovo just got an awesome haircut here. So great job. But one of the questions I wanted to start off with, especially to Mayor Bovo, you know, you've been in elected office for a while now. You've been in the city council president, state rep, county commission, but those were more legislative positions, right? Where you can kind of, you know, you make your decisions, but you're kind of in the background. Now being the mayor of Hialeah, one of the largest cities in Florida, it's on your shoulders, right? You're the administrator, you're doing the day-to-day. So how does that feel? That day that you won the election, and saying, you know what, now all these promises that I made, all these, I got to deliver. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's a game changer, right? And you realize that you can't blame anybody. You got to look in the mirror and own. And what's interesting is that you not only own what you promised, what you committed to, but you own whatever you inherit. Because, you know, you don't just all of a sudden sit there and you're going to blame everything in the past. You realize that people don't care. And what they expect out of government is, you know, provide the daily services, police, fire, pick up my garbage, keep my parks clean. I inherit that, no matter the condition. It's mine now. We work on it, and then we also work in a realm to make sure that whatever we committed to, we come through on. Because I think people get fatigued with politics and government because they feel like it doesn't ever live up to what they say they're going to do. I want to change that conversation in Hialeah.
For sure. And those first 100 days, what is that one story that you can share with us? Hialeah is a full service city. So you guys got water department, fire department. Yep. I mean, you guys got it all. So what is that one story that you can share? Maybe there's a lot that you can't share that are happening behind the scenes, but what's that one story you can share that kind of like you said, okay, this is real now? Yeah,
so look, I think no doubt there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of work that's being done in the background. But I think if there was one thing that stood out to me in that first and we'll do 100 days come this weekend. The one thing I think that stood out to me is a little old lady that came to City Hall, and I was walking in. She didn't have an appointment with me. She was just there. She needed to talk to somebody about a problem, and she made a beeline right to me, right? And if anything, it was that humbling moment. No matter the title, no matter that image that one believes they may have or others may cast about them, at the end of the day, just like you, man, we are public servants. That person came to me with an issue, and it was then on me, no excuses, right? You run the show, to get us at least an answer for that problem. And it was kind of like that moment that it came all in perspective, okay? You're the mayor, you're the head of this $410 million operation, a lot of lives that you have to take care of and make sure that they have all the tools that they need. And yet, this one person, narrowing through all that stuff, had an issue that doesn't even rely on me to solve, but she needed to make sure, as her mayor, she wanted to let me know what her problem was. To me, it was humbling. It all made it very clear to me what my mission is as mayor.
Yeah, that's really powerful, and to hear those stories, especially in a city so large, a story just like that and the impact that it makes.
Yeah.
So one thing that's really important to Lazarito, I know he could chime in on this, is your parks, Hialeah Parks. I'm a product of Hialeah Parks and Rec. I grew up, one of my first times playing was our Sparks Park. Then my home park was Slade Park and Casas Park. But man, I loved it, and it helped me be the person I am today. And I know Laz, the same thing. Actually, Joe Dizik, we talked about it at the last episode. Joe Dizik was one of my coaches at Bucky Dent before. Now he's your director. And Joe, and I shared this before, but I wanted you to hear this. During Christmas time, when Bucky Dent got built, think about it. When you were kids, we're on the street, there's nothing to do. More than likely, you're going to get in trouble. Joe was like, you know what? I'm going to do a Christmas tournament. He didn't have to do it. I'm going to do a Christmas basketball tournament for 2 weeks. So these kids can be here. We ended up winning, by the way. And I'll never forget doing that and being in a safe place and him coaching us. And Kirby, the same thing. Kirby used to sit with us at Slade Park every day to 9 o'clock and just talk to us. Yeah. I'm like a 16-year-old, and Kirby was in my ear telling me, like, Manny, you know what I mean, do the right thing. And so that impact that the parks had on us. I mean, what does the future look like? And you could jump in here about the parks too, Lazarito. But what's the future for Hialeah Parks and Recs? Because it's really had a tremendous impact on my life, Laz's life, and a lot of people's lives.
Look, I see myself as a park rat growing up too. It might have not been at Slade or at any of the parks in the city of Hialeah. For me, it was Tropical Park, Tamiami Park, Village Green Park. To me, that's where life lessons, man. You know, your friends are out there. Team sports were built. You got into fights. You got into arguments. You left it at the park. I mean, I've got friendships that I created in that park experience. I will tell you, I was a little frustrated as we were campaigning for Mayor Hialeah that we would talk about the parks. And we started coming to this realization that, you know, recreational sports has really gone down the tubes. Travel League has really cannibalized this. And I know you deal with these challenges also, is that, man, I want my kids to go back to the parks. First of all, we've invested millions of dollars in the city of Hialeah to have a park system, and not to have adequate sports programming is difficult for me to reconcile. So what am I doing about it? Because at the end of the day, like I said, now they're your issues. You got to tackle them, right? So what I've been doing in the first 100 days is meeting with ex-Major League Baseball players, current Major League Baseball players, talking to them, and these all have Hialeah DNA to a certain degree.
Gio Gonzalez,
Exactly.
Nestor Cortez.
And so having them help me recreate what they experience. And my hope is that there's going to be a kid out there. He's not going to go to the major leagues. He may not even get a scholarship. Heck, he may not even make his high school baseball team. But he likes sports. And I need to give that kid an avenue that's affordable. And so the same thing we talk about in baseball, we talk about it in basketball. We talk it about in soccer. You know, get some programming and then do something different. And this is something that, without any shame, I saw something you did that called my attention. And it's like the use of your park in alternative ways. So you do a wine and food festival. Yep. It's in a park area, right? You use park assets to do it, but you're doing it differently. So you're activating your park, but not for a sporting event, whether it's a fundraising, a charity event, or for businesses to come out the door.
We
Cafecito, never say no in Hialeah for coffee, man. Oye, con espumita. De aquí. Hermano, oye, very important, because if the haircut doesn't work, para la carreta va a trabajar, ¿oíste?
It'll see who that. Yeah, for sure, man.
So we were looking at what you did there, and thought, there's got to be other ways. If you think about our parks for a second, city of Hialeah, most, if not all of its parks are built around neighborhoods. That means I've got multiple central parks throughout my city. So my question is, and this is a challenge to my parks department, yeah, I want baseball, I want soccer, football, I want all that stuff. I want that, okay? But I also want the wine and food festival. I want a flamenco guitar festival. I want a croqueta festival. I want art festival. Use our parks in different ways so people come out and use them and take pride in their park. They paid for it.
Absolutely, and I think one thing that we're blessed with, and I know you guys are working on, is that human capital, right? People in your community that want to give back, that want to say, hey, I'll run this for you, like our food and wine festival. It's a volunteer that organizes the entire thing. I mean, it's so special. So it's really, really cool. One thing I wanted to touch upon as well during the campaign, there was a word that you use. I'm not going to mention it because whatever.
The S word. The S word. Yeah.
But there was a word that you used that everybody talked about. Everybody's like, oh my God, the mayor said this. But there's a backstory that doesn't get told. And I after you tell yours, I'll share a story that happened to me when I was campaigning. But I think there's this misperception that elected officials aren't human beings, right? Yeah. That it's okay to try to harm somebody's family or make fun of somebody's family and not react. So if you could share with us that backstory, because I think it's powerful, right? And it showcases that human aspect that we don't hear about enough.
Yeah. Look, first, Manny, like you, I'm a dad, right? And I always try to conduct myself in a way that my kids are going to be proud of me. And it wasn't a proud moment at that particular moment. But the backstory was that those that know me know I lost my dad. Similar to you, lost your dad, and my condolences. I lost my dad in March of last year. Very difficult. I was very close to my dad. My dad was my hero, and grew to be my best friend as I got older, a person I would confide in. And so my dad's loss was something that was still very much with me during last year's campaign. And, you know, campaigns get heated, Hialeah style, the temperature starts mounting, and we saw a group of people, many of which are not Hialeah residents, don't know Hialeah, don't know the DNA in Hialeah, and took it to a level of insults in the early voting that started to become like almost a slow water torture, right? And you're trying to compose yourself. So the perfect storm hit. My wife is not there, who's my kryptonite, right? She's not there. I'm there. Somebody says something to my niece about, you know, your grandfather was a loser or something like that. And that was the red line that I crossed, right? And so I responded to somebody. But ironically, as people understood what had happened, it was almost justified. Now, not that I condone it. I always think you got to act professionally in all realms. But at that moment, I think what was needed was, short of, you know, getting somebody by the neck, which I was not going to do, was verbally letting somebody know my displeasure. And I used the word, and now I hear it's in the Spanish dictionary. So, you know, I want to make sure they put a footnote and give me credit for something, okay? So
put that asterisk in there in that Spanish dictionary. So we won't share the word, but I think everybody knows what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough in politics. And I'll share a story with you that happened to me, 2016, running for mayor, winning the election, right? All the polls are showing I'm blowing it out of the water. One of my opponents gets desperate. My mom is out campaigning for me. Our mom is sacred, right? Laz, like, oh, hey, somebody met, eso sagrado. So they sent somebody to fight my mom. Literally craziness. We were up because they in their mind, if somebody got into my mom's face and I knocked them out or did something, campaign over, look at Manny Cid. So I'll never forget that. I remember they walk up to my mom and get in her face and start and I had to like stand in the middle, put my arms up in the air, and tell everybody, hey, call the police. My first reaction, if we were like, think about it, we were in wild back in the days as kids, and somebody does that to our mom. But I was like, and even my mom told me, because Manny, they're trying. And I remember my mom going home and her and I talking about it with my dad, and people get desperate, they want to do it, and I think that's the part of politics that why a lot of good people don't want to run. And get afraid. But that's why we got to take them on, right? That's one thing I tell folks all the time is that, oh, hey, I'm not afraid of them. I'm gonna keep going. But at the end of the day, who got the last laugh? You won. I won. And you know what I mean? We're doing the people's business now. But the hard part is, as human beings, like what happened with me and my mom, was, you're right. My first reaction would have been like, what are you doing? You know, get over here. But they were all recorded. You know what I mean? I had to put my arms up in the air, and I remember my mom telling me, Manny, don't react. Put your arms up. And I had to stand up and call the cop, you know, and it worked out. But yeah, like, people cross that line, and it's not cool.
Look, I believe, you know, we all try to do the right thing. You know, that's what runs the business. We were talking earlier about how he needs to nourish this, right? This is his baby, literally, right? Who comes in here? Who works? Are they an asset to what he's trying to build here? The clientele, because that has repercussions, right? That has a ripple effect in the community. And it's no different than when you're trying to govern. You know, you want to set a good culture. You want to set a professional culture. And that's what I aspire to, you know. I talk to my people all the time. If you're not in this for public service, if you're not in this to help other people navigate their problems, then what are we doing? You know, what are we doing here? And for me, that test of a campaign where you're not only have to develop a campaign, talk to people and all that, those that don't have a campaign, those that are dying in the wind, so to speak, in their campaigns, how they're going to react is the attack. And unfortunately, the political climate right now is too toxic for any real sober discussion. You know, we got real issues, and yet we go down a rabbit's hole of politics that, for me personally, does a disservice. So, and I'll use, for example, COVID as an example, right? You and I navigated on this issue. We went back and forth trying to figure out, there was no roadmap, but the roadmap that we were trying to develop at least had a common sense mentality, right? It's important. You know your business. You know how to keep your people safe, and and your clients and your employees. And so why am I as government going to come in here and tell you, no, here's how you're going to do it, which, by the way, I'm not really sure. I'm being guided by somebody else. And I just, I feel that a lot of common sense goes out the door in these things, you know?
No, you're right, you're right. And talking about issues that are maybe emotional, right? That have gone from facts to emotions. And I think a lot of times it's hard to bring this all back together. But like the bridge issues that we're dealing with. And I know you and I have been having conversations to come to an amicable agreement, but that is one. I have friends on both sides. I mean, I represent Miami Lakes, but I have friends on the other side. And I understand their perspective, but I represent my people, and I'm going to do everything I can to protect their interests. But talk to us, how do we, like on issues like that, hot button issues, like the bridge issues, how do you work with someone to come to an amicable agreement?
So, you know, I'm a big reader of history. I enjoy reading how diplomats handle situations. I read a book a couple of years ago called Courage, Profile on Courage, which talked about how, you know, presidents and other statesmen had to deal with issues, massive issues that were thorny, and how they navigated, right? And I think, you know, when you and I talk about these issues, I've always had to have a mindset. You have a political reality, I have one, right? The better I understand your political reality, I can understand the moves you need to make and the decision points that you make. Just like when you understand mine, I've got decision points. And when we could both mutually understand each other's issues, okay, then I think we could start navigating. I don't put you in a corner, which I know I can't. You don't put me in a corner, which you know you can. And then you start kind of finding that sweet spot, right? And if we walk away, neither one of us satisfied, but you know what? We move the dial, we move the issue, we respected each other. Then I think that's that sweet spot that we could find and say, okay, guys, we could go with a united front and say we've reached an agreement on something. And I think I attribute this, you know, I'm going into union contracts and negotiations.
Wow.
The unions have a role to play, and I get it and I understand it, and I understand their decision points. I try to communicate what are my decision points as far as guarding the public's dollar, right? And then try to navigate, not malicious intent. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to take anything away from you. I want you guys to see Hialeah as a career. And at the same time, I want you to understand what I'm trying to accomplish long term. Maybe I can't do everything in one contract. Maybe it's two contracts. And I think, Manny, the more we understand these things amongst ourselves and each other, then I think the better it is we can land in good spots. You could tell your residents straight face, I did these 5 things. I honored the things I needed to do. I could turn to my residents and say, you know, we got done what we needed to do. And it's not walking away with somebody's scalp or, you know, the victory lap, which is often what we see in politics, which in my opinion, who wins in those kind of situations?
No one wins. Only the attorneys that get involved later on.
Amen. They always get paid, right?
Are the only ones that win. So I think one powerful word that comes from that is empathy, right? Being empathetic, walking in someone else's shoes, kind of seeing through their eyes. And I remember that's something that you've always preached and something I talk to my staff all the time. You know, not everything's cut and dry. You got to look at other people's perspective. So that's a really good, and that book is it. I'm going to look up that book, Profile on Courage.
But before you read that one, okay, you got to read Blood in the Garden, okay, because I know you're a basketball fan.
Got it. No.
And you know it's about the Knicks in the 90s and the kind of brand of basketball they played. And I mean, you were around the 90s. You followed basketball. I was more of an 80s basketball guy, but the 90s basketball they were scoring in the 60s.
Yep.
The level of defense and Patrick Riley, who's now our Heat guru, right? Set a culture in New York. You gotta read that one too, man.
I'll check it out, man. I love Patrick Ewing, LJ.
Oh yeah.
I just feel bad thinking back on the Allen Houston shot that beat us.
Oh,
you know that's I
can still see that ball bouncing on that rim and then going in, right?
Yeah, don't remind me of that. That was
tough.
So one thing we add into this is we kind of turn the script around. We let you ask me any questions you got for me before we do some closing remarks.
Okay. So you're unique in a sense, right? I'm a full-time mayor. I run the city. You're a hands-on mayor, which is a little different, but you're a hands-on mayor. So how do you navigate running a business and also tending to the city? Because they both have heavy demands. One, feed your family. The other one, you know, you rely on issues from people that are knocking on your door. So
So you hit it on the head earlier on when you talked about that culture, right? So when I first got elected in 2016 as mayor, I worked the first 2 years was about changing the culture, transforming that culture to where we're at today. Where I'll give you an example. Now our building department, and talking about taking care of people,
Yeah.
we've turned it into a department where we split different issues. Where now I have my building official in the back end, but now I have a building director that all he does customer service.
Yeah.
You pull a permit, he calls, your contractor, he calls you personally, he puts everybody on the same page. But now that makes my job easier because now I'm getting less phone calls. Now people don't call me anymore because before it was people calling me, Manny, something's happening with my permit, what's going on? Now my building director is calling them, being like, hey, you got an issue with your permit, I need you to come in today. So I think taking those years to look at what was going on and getting to a point that we're at today has allowed me to focus on my business too and balance those out. But yeah, I put easy 40 to 50 hours at City Hall. We have, and I know you're doing it now coming up, which is awesome. We have Saturday office hours for our residents because think about it, City Hall is open, 9 to 5. People work 9 to 5.
Absolutely.
When do people tell you they're available? On the weekend. So kudos to you for doing that. We do it up. We're a city of 33,000 and we get a lot of cases. You're a city of 300,000, so I'm sure you're going to get.
Well, you know one of the things that I like I said, no shame, man. I see what works in other places. I see what you've done here in your town. I saw what Mayor Lagos done in Coral Gables. Opened it up, right? And then to me, it's like, guys, this stuff works in cities that are smaller from a population standpoint. Why can't it work for us? And I'm thinking along that same line. There's somebody who wants to pull a fence permit and can't come to the city. If Lazarito wanted to expand his business, the first obstacle he's going to run into is Durham and the city license department and whatnot. So why don't I just have everybody available, have him come in on a Saturday and go and say, guys, I'm thinking to expand my business. I could secure the place next door. What do I need to do? And who's there? Durham, license, building, zoning, everybody. So at least he can walk out. I now know I need to do these 3 things. If you're doing a fence, okay, here, I want to do a fence, simple permit, get them out the door, go do your fence. So you're not doing it illegally. So you don't even have to go a code enforcement violation, and una tonteria, to be honest with you. So to me, taking government to people works for me, and I hope people take to it.
No, 100%. One of the other things that helps with the balance is we've worked to create this ecosystem of people that help out. For example, we had a lady the other day, she got a code enforcement warning because she hadn't painted her wall in 3 years. But you go visit her, she can't move. Like she couldn't walk.
Yeah.
So she calls me and she's like, what do I do? I have the paint sitting in my garage. I go, don't worry about it. Make one phone call. I called like giving gators and stuff like. They went over there and painted her wall. Instead of government, just citing her over and over. You know what I mean? There's solutions to we got to help people. So that's definitely helped me balance it out. Right now it's a little imbalanced. I need to hire somebody at the restaurant, so I'm stuck cooking on the weekends.
I hear you.
But it works out. And the family, making sure your family is definitely that. I know it's very important to you. It's very important to you. Our families are our number one priority.
Absolutely.
So you're having that entire balance,
And
really,
when you
really
run a small business, they're all in, right?
100%.
I grew up in a small business. It was my dad, my mom, myself, my sister, my uncle, and before you know it, it's a family-oriented business. So everybody all hands on deck, and the same thing happens, And whether they're here physically or just at home supporting to allow you to be able to do what you need to do. And to me, it's the same plight. Every single person that we deal with in our community, people that you cut hair, people that knock on your door, knock on my door, everybody's in the same boat, man. We're trying to take care of our families, trying to get through life as best we can, move forward, right? Never backwards. That's not a good thing. And to me, that's what government should be. We should be reflective of what people expect out of us. If we could accomplish that mission, the rest of it is noise. The rest of it is theater. It's those nits and grits. I go back to that little old lady that came and spoke to me. Here I am, the mayor. I just won an election. I'm thinking high and mighty, and she's got an issue that's personal to her, problematic to her, and she's looking me dead eye, saying, "I need your help."
No, that's powerful, and that helps keeps us humble and focused on what we need to do. Any other question you got for me, or?
So if you were mayor and if you weren't the owner of a business, okay, what NBA team would you want her to get drafted by? Because I know you got NBA DNA. So what team?
Man, right now, Golden State Warriors.
Oh yeah, man.
Being real with you, I mean, that's just, they're at another level what they've done with that team. I mean, you got Draymond Green. You got a guy that they picked up in the draft, first round, James Wiseman. They're building him up. Klay Thompson just came back. But what they did, the thing that impresses me the most is what they did with Andrew Wiggins. He's a guy that was stuck in Minnesota. Everybody was like, man, he's only playing well because he shoots every shot in Minnesota. He's not. They brought him over here. He bought into that culture in San Francisco. The guy's doing amazing. So, yeah, he would be obviously the ideal. I'm a homer. But what's happening in Golden State,
Impressive, huh?
super special.
So I want to share, and then, you know, I'd be done from my end. I don't know how long these shows go, but I want to share something with you. So you say Golden State, and you know my son's a big Golden State fan. And I've shared this story with you also. So my dad died March 25th, right? And, you know, obviously we were very down and what have you. And a friend of mine gets me tickets. I'm not an elected official, wasn't an elected official, just in case anybody asks. Gets me floor seats for the Golden State game, of which only 5,000 people were allowed to go into the game because it was still COVID. Wow. So April 1st, 2020, they give me tickets, and I tell my son, if you want to see Steph Curry warm up, we got to go to the game at like 6:30. Game starts at 7:30. But you got to be there a full hour in advance. So we get there. My son is like, goes into shock. Won't open his mouth. He's got Steph Curry standing as close as you and I, and Steph Curry's warming up. My son won't say a word to him. Game goes on. Long story short, at the end of the game, again, normally I would leave early, or I would say, no, let's get out of here so we can beat the traffic. The Heat won the game. I decided, let's just sit and let the crowd thin out a little bit more and just watch as the players are all mingling before they leave. And Steph Curry's hanging out. He's not leaving. He's talking to some friends. And I see he looks over toward us. And then he's talking to someone. He points at my son. And they bring him. Steph Curry takes off his jersey, signs it, and sends it over to my son.
It's amazing, man.
And to me, there was two things that stuck out. One was the fact that he took the time to notice. Maybe he heard us say earlier that, hey, this is his biggest fan, and my son was, you know, shocked, awed. And he wrote on it, and I forget the actual Bible verse, but it's Ephesians, and he talks about, you know, you could do anything with God, right? Or if you're with God, you could accomplish anything. And he wrote that, the Bible verse, and sent it. We've never washed the jersey. My son wore it to school the following day.
That's cool.
So I would tell you, yeah, and after the Heat, we were big Golden State Warrior fan. And it's all because of Steph Curry. And he just cemented his walk-on-water stature in my house for that gesture.
That is phenomenal.
Really cool.
That is a cool story.
Really cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Laz, you got anything you want to add? Anything you want to jump in here?
I just want to say thank you. You know, it's an honor, and you're the first guest on our The People Shop
cool.
You know, podcast we got going on here.
So in closing, what's the future for the city of Hialeah?
Well, you know, City of Hialeah is a city, dynamic city. It's a city in change. We haven't seen the amount of construction and development in our city probably in the last 40 years. People are investing in the city of Hialeah, and I think there's going to be a couple of ripple effects from that. You're going to see younger people move in, professionals, and with that brings other kinds of investments in our cities, restaurants, shops, perhaps bars. And it's something that I'm proud and hopeful to be able to guide that. What our role in government is to help those that want to invest, let them know we're allies in what they're trying to do, and hopefully not govern from cycles of 4 years, but think long-term in Hialeah. What does Hialeah look like 20 years from now? And what are we doing today to achieve those goals? And so those of you that may be listening and have family or live in Hialeah, be proud of your city. We're going places, and you guys need to be part of where we're going.
So there you have it, Mayor Steve Bovo, here in the city of Hialeah, the city of progress. Tune in next Wednesday on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Take care.